Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. It means we're brought to you by Rouse's Markets, official market of the New Orleans Saints. Got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines with me here. Appreciate you for hanging out with us. My last show of the year. I am out tomorrow. Got a wedding that the wife is in down in New Orleans, so we'll be there tonight and tomorrow, and then we're into the weekend. For New Year's Day on Monday. We won't have a show that day either. Well, at least not this show. We'll have a pre- and post-game show, but not this one. So my last show of 2023, and we are jammed for the next 2 hours. Luke Johnson talking Saints in 15 minutes. Michael Clauble from WBRZ talking LSU football in 1:30. He'll be down there in Tampa covering the Tigers' best win and worst loss as the NFL crunch time approaches. 2 weeks left. New Orleans certainly in that number. We'll talk about college football playoff games. Chris Blair is going to be with us as well. He is in Tampa right now, hanging out with some family before he's to the airwaves on New Year's Day. And I'll get you my final pick for LSU and Wisconsin in the ReliaQuest Bowl as we move forward. I do want to start there with LSU and Wisconsin in the ReliaQuest Bowl. I'm not surprised, but as we sit here, I guess 4 days from game day, just not a lot of juice around the ReliaQuest Bowl. But I do find some intrigue. I think my stance on this game has been well documented. I think a lot of people disagree, but I'm just not really gung-ho on you got to get to your 10th win, you got to ride momentum into the off season. I don't think this is a make or break day for Garrett Nussmeier. I do find some things interesting, though, and most of what we have talked about has been Garrett Nussmeier and this offense and what that looks like. And that's important. But on the other side of the ball, I think there's a lot of intrigue as well. I'm being pie in the sky here because we know how this story ends. But do you recall a January day in Northeast Texas back in 2011 when some freshman DBs showed up and showed out in a Cotton Bowl win over Texas A&M? Tyrann Mathieu had an interception in that game. Eric Reed had an interception in that game. Daryl Simon played a lot at defensive back in that game. And Spencer Ware had a breakout day that day too as a freshman, but I'm thinking more so those DBs. And sure, LSU at times has had true freshmen show up and be ready to play defensive back. Patrick Peterson was ready to go. Derek Stingley was ready to go. Now, these are 5-star, top 10 players in the country. We get it. But that's not always the case with every freshman that shows up, as good as a lot of LSU's DBs have been over the last 20 years. But you would think come into November and then into a bowl game that freshmen have put on some weight, have understood the speed of the game to a certain extent, and have kind of taken a jump from where they were in August. At least that's the hope. And that's my hope as LSU takes the field against Wisconsin with a cornerback duo of Ashton Stamps and Javian Toviano. This has been a winding road at DB for LSU this year. You've gone through Denver Harris and Deuce Chestnut and Zy Alexander and Greg Brooks. You never had J.K. Johnson. You've had Sage Ryan back there. He's been in and out and corner and nickel and back to safety. But at the bye week, you committed to Javian Toviano and Ashton Stamps as your two corners. The transfer portal guys had either gotten hurt or weren't with the team or whatever the case may have been, and those became your guys. And were they all world in Tuscaloosa? No. But they didn't give up huge plays. Were they all world against Texas A&M? No, they gave up some points to a third-string quarterback. But you didn't see the massive bust, and it didn't look quite as easy for A&M with a third-string quarterback, I get it, as it did for Missouri 3/4 of that game and Ole Miss and Florida State in the second half. And, maybe there were some improvements that were being made. And I think likely you go into the 2024 season with Ashton Stamps and Javian Toviano as two pieces in your secondary. Where that is, what you add in the transfer portal, or what these freshmen that you're bringing in can do, remains to be seen. But to me, this is a great opportunity. As comfortable a landing spot as this game is for Garrett Nussmeier with the weapons that he's got around him to play offense, it's just as comfortable, I think, for these two freshman LSU corners against this Wisconsin offense. Wisconsin has one pass catcher on the roster, one, who has multiple touchdown catches this year. That's Will Pauling. He's the only guy who's got multiple touchdown catches on the season for Wisconsin. Bryson Green is second on the team in receptions and receiving yards. He's got 375 yards on the year. That's 100 yards back behind Kyron Lacey, who's running third behind two 1,000-yard guys in LSU's offense. To call this Wisconsin passing attack pedestrian would be quite generous. It's bad. This Badger team threw for 145 yards against Minnesota. They threw for 160 against Nebraska. 164 on Ohio State. 145 on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. 193 on Purdue. 189 on Buffalo, not the Bills. This is a fine matchup for LSU on the edge. And maybe an opportunity for Ashton Stamps and Javian Toviano to grow into a really good set of LSU cornerbacks. They got here different ways. Toviano was thought of as a high 4-star level prospect, somebody that Texas wanted and Texas A&M wanted and LSU wanted. Everybody that was the big boys were recruiting Javian Toviano. That's not necessarily the case for Stamps, but in Stamps' case, you started to pick up the buzz in August. He was taking reps in a spot where we didn't necessarily expect to see him taking reps. The coaches were talking about him. The players were talking about him. And we've seen those guys too. Maybe a little under-recruited, but all of a sudden they get to campus and you go, oh, yeah, I think he can play. And a lot of times that happens with Louisiana kids. Because LSU doesn't take a lot of fringe 3-stars from Arkansas or South Carolina. Most of the fringe 3-stars that you're going to take are going to come from right here in the state. And Ashton Stamps, depending on where you're looking, fits that mold. This is not a situation where these two guys are being forced into action and don't have the necessary skills to play at LSU. That's not the case. They're just young. And now, getting to the end of your first year, you should be a different player than you were Labor Day weekend. And I do think, as great as we would feel if Garrett Nussmeier goes out there and throws for 360 and 4 touchdowns on Monday, I'd feel pretty good if Javian Toviano and Ashton Stamps went out there and both got their hands on a couple of footballs, had some pass breakups, sure tackling, maybe an interception here or there, show a little confidence, a little swagger. Because as much as we were looking at LSU's offense in this game as kind of a precursor to next year with the new quarterback, a lot of that was this will be Garrett Nussmeier's third year in Mike Denbrock's system. Well, now all of a sudden, just by definition, LSU's defensive coordinator is far more likely to be here next year than the offensive coordinator. And we probably wouldn't have said that a week ago, but here we are. So maybe this is the same group of players that will be playing for the same coordinator. Maybe not in this era. Who knows? But I will have my eyes on that because I was in Jerry World watching those young kids run around against Texas A&M, watching Tyrann Mathieu make a diving pick, watching Eric Reed all around the football, Thurald Simon out there, Spencer Ware. Yeah, Jordan Jefferson had a really good game, and yeah, Terrence Tolliver got a ton of yards in his last game as a Tiger, but I was watching the younger guys going, oh, it's going be pretty good. And I'm not trying to suggest in any way that next year's LSU team is going to look like the 2011 team. Okay? You're never going to hear me say that before a season starts. But I do think in a game where I'm not putting a massive amount of stock in the end result, the individual performances by a couple of guys who have been settled on and are manning a group that struggled mightily this year against a bad passing offense, mind you, I would really love it if those two guys stepped up and announced their presence as guys that are going to potentially be really good players at LSU. Because while you bring in a transfer portal guy, just doesn't quite look right. Seen that in basketball, seen that in football as well. You know, they move on and they're just not a factor. If a freshman struggles, well, maybe they can grow up. Maybe there's time to develop. That's the way Brian Kelly wants to do that. How much development has gone on with those two guys as we get into the bowl game? I guess we'll find out Monday morning at 11 o'clock. A reminder, I got info from Charles Hanniger because what I was telling you yesterday was not actually correct. 2-hour pregame on Eagle 98.1 game day, 7 to 9. They'll hand things off to us at 9 o'clock on the LSU Sports Radio Network. We'll get you until 10:30. Hand it off to the broadcast team. They'll have the call of the game. 30 minutes after it goes final, it'll be the LSU Sports Radio Network, me, Marlon Favorite, Brandon Taylor, for an hour. 90 minutes after it goes final, a 2-hour post-game show, Eagle 98.1 game day from right here in the Mercedes-Benz Baton Rouge studio with Charles Hanniger. He'll be reacting to what we saw in the Relay Quest Bowl with LSU and Wisconsin, as well as getting you ready for the college football playoff, which will take place that afternoon and evening. And I'll have my thoughts on those two games coming up a little bit later in the show. Let's take a transition over to the New Orleans Saints as they have their backs against the wall, headed to Tampa. Luke Johnson covers the black and gold. He's with us next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Jersey Mike's, Highway 30 in Gonzales. Tell you about those delicious cold subs all the time. The hot ones are really good too, but they've got some fantastic options with their cold subs. They've got the Club Supreme, which is roast beef, turkey, Swiss, applewood smoked bacon, and mayo. Freshly baked bread every single morning. How about the number 4, which is provolone, prosciutto, and capicola? Delicious Italian meats over there at Jersey Mike's. And when you order, they slice those right there to order. It's not meat that's been shipped in a box all over the place. No, they've got it. They'll slice it right there for you as you order at Jersey Mike's. See our friends at Highway 30 in Gonzales. That's the Tanger Outlet Mall exit. And always remember them for your catering opportunities, whether it's a party, whether you're feeding the office, whether it's a tailgate, a watch party. Jersey Mike's can get it done. I told you a couple weeks ago, they fed 2 high school football teams in one day. Your order is not too big for our friends at Highway 30 to handle. You can order online. You can order on DoorDash or any of your food delivery options. Check them out at jerseymikes.com. Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Jeep Grand Cherokee, $10,000 off new Jeep Grand Cherokee, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
His name was King. He had a horse along the countryside. saw him ride. One day they found him.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you.
On Fridays, Off the Bench, a final preview of New Year's Six weekend. Who will advance in the playoffs, all the biggest bowl winners, and a final pontoon parlay. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Large contingent of media headed to Tampa from South Louisiana. A lot of them headed over to see the ReliaQuest Bowl. Some of them over to see the Saints and the Buccaneers. One of those will be Luke Johnson, covers the Saints for The Advocate with us every single Thursday. Joins us now. Luke, Santa Claus make it to the Johnson house?
Yes, he did. And I am now drinking very fancy coffee because of it. So shout out to Santa Claus.
Santa with some fancy brew. Like to hear that. Last time we talked to you, you were out in Southern California. Things did not go so well. Your biggest takeaway from the loss to the Rams?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is they just continue to miss these opportunities to, actually come good on their potential, right? I mean, we have seen this team time and time again put together like these great little glimpses of what they could be, of what we kind of thought they would be. But every time they've gone up against, they've taken a step up in class against some of the better teams in the NFL. And I think it's fair to call the Rams one of the better teams in the NFL right now. They're playing very well. They got all their guys back. I think they'll be a problem for teams in the playoffs. So as soon as the Saints step up in class, they get absolutely outclassed. And that has been the case all season. And it's why they're in the position they're in right now, where they need a Hail Mary in order to even sniff the playoffs here.
So you look at Dennis Allen, decides not to kick the field goal on that first drive, then decides to put the foot on the gas late and don't convert a fourth down right before the half, and the Rams go down and get points. What have you made of the decision-making from Dennis Allen with some of the decisions he's made?
I didn't really have a problem with it. The first field goal would have been like 54, 55 yards, which I think that's within Groupie's range when he's totally healthy. I'm not sure that's the case right now. I mean, he hasn't been on the injury report, but we've seen him kind of come up short on some kickoffs. He's been kind of dealing with that groin injury for the better part of the last month. So I don't really knock him for not going for the field goal there. And, once he kind of saw what that Rams offense was like on that first drive where they went 95 yards on a touchdown drive. And I also don't blame him for being aggressive on fourth downs. I think you can blame the play calling in those situations and not really having a very good option. It seems like their best play calls were their second and third down play calls, and then fourth down when they really needed it. It was kind of like a non-starter on all those plays. But I don't fault him for being aggressive. I actually liked it because his defense had no shot at slowing down that Rams offense. And really the only way they were going to win that game is that they scored a bunch of points.
Okay, you say, well, they had no shot of stopping that Rams offense. What does that tell you?
I mean, I think it tells me they got a lot of issues to fix on this defensive side of the ball, and I don't know how they're going to fix it. I still think their secondary is really good. Obviously, they got last week, but yeah, that's really the first time this year that they've just really looked non-competitive in a game. I think pretty much every other game you put on, that secondary is all over people. So I don't really have too much of a problem with that side of things, but they had absolutely no pass rush again, which was disappointing to see after they'd kind of come alive the previous 2 weeks. And the run defense is a huge problem. I mean, Kyron Williams went over, I think he had 100 yards in the first 3 quarters. And, that's just kind of been a problem throughout the season for the Saints. So, I think they've got a lot of work to do on that side of the ball from a personnel standpoint, which is not exactly where you want to be considering some of the money they have invested in guys over the next couple of years.
You mentioned the Rams being one of the better teams in the NFL. I would agree with you there. Would you put Tampa in that class after the last month?
I'm thinking back to like what I said on your show like a month ago, where I said because Tampa was in a tier behind the Falcons and Saints, and I feel like an idiot for saying that now. I wouldn't put them in that like upper crust tier, even though they have like the same record as the Rams and the Seahawks, and they have a better record than the Packers and the Vikings. I just still think that they're a pretty flawed team who is able to turn it on sometimes. And they really turned it on against the Packers and the Jaguars. But like when it comes down to it, I don't think I'm trusting Baker Mayfield in the playoffs, even with some really good weapons to throw to. I think their defense is kind of similar to the Saints, where they got some really nice players, but some of their better ones are getting up there in age. I still think whoever's coming out of the NFC South, I'm going to pick against them in the playoffs. But the Buccaneers have proved me wrong all season, so we'll see.
We understand the storyline that always precedes this game with Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore. With no Lattimore in this game, how does that change the way the Bucs offense looks specifically against New Orleans?
Yeah, I'm just really curious to see if the Saints are going to travel Adebo with Mike Evans. I think Adebo is pretty clearly their top cover guy. I think he's not as physical as Lattimore is, but when you look at who they got back there, I think he's their most physical guy. And I think he runs well. I think he plays well on those deep balls. So, I think that's what I'm really looking forward to, is seeing if they do that for the first time, because he's really just been a player who just plays aside. That being said, Mike Evans is having a really good year. And this might be his chance to kind of, finally shake off his struggles against the Saints historically with Marshawn Lattimore not being on the field. I think he's got like his 8th straight 100 or 1,000-yard season. He's up near the NFL leading touchdown catches. He's really, really good, and he's stayed good into his 30s. So, he's going to be a huge problem for the Saints, especially considering that Tampa's run game has suddenly found some life. They're still ranked 30th in the NFL in rushing, but the last 5 or 6 weeks have actually been pretty good. The Saints have, like I alluded to earlier, been pretty bad at stopping the run. So if they have to commit resources to that and take some attention away from Mike Evans, I think it could lead to that guy having a big game.
Is there something you've noticed with the Saints' run defense struggles? I don't think Demario Davis has taken a step back, and I think that most people are generally satisfied with a lot of Pete Werner's work. Is it more so on the front four?
I would put a lot of it on the front four, but I'm going to disagree with you a little bit and say I think that while Demario is still a really good player and he has some really good stuff that he does, I think that he has lost a step. I think he's been at his best this year when he's been going north and south, and diagnosing plays and getting there and using his head. But he's not the same sideline-to-sideline player that he was before. And then on top of that, I think their second-level tackling has been pretty poor. So you factor in the fact that they haven't gotten very much out of their defensive front at all, with a little bit worse play from Demario Davis, with guys like Alontae Taylor and Tyrann Mathieu, who are very good players, but who are, I think have been a little over-aggressive or had some problems with missed tackles this year. I think it's all kind of added up. And, their 11-player unit as a run defense has just not been it's not been up to snuff.
Talking with Luke Johnson, covers the Saints for The Advocate. Will be in Tampa for Saints and Bucks coming up on Sunday. Question on, I guess, big picture. What does a loss mean for the Saints? I think we know what a win means. It means, okay, might have something on the line here in Week 18. What does a loss mean?
Well, a loss means they're guaranteed to be out of the playoffs. A loss means they're guaranteed a losing season. And I think it brings a lot of, let's say, a lot of questions that deserve to be asked about the direction of the franchise, and about who's leading the franchise. Look, they put all their eggs in the basket in this thing 2 years in a row. More than 2 years in a row, right? But like, they've really leaned into the fact that they thought they were competitive. They thought they were, in a division they could easily win, and they added to it. And they did their usual thing where they committed resources to future years, and they kicked the can down the road. And I just don't know if that strategy still holds water. And I think you can ask those questions regardless of what happens Sunday, but I think it gets especially loud if they lose, because they're going into, for the second straight year, they're going into Week 18 with nothing to play for.
And that dome with nothing to play for against Atlanta is going to be a sad place. I mean, that's the image that's burned into my brain right now, is hypothetically, if they lose this game to Tampa, thinking about what that dome would look like with your hated rival coming in and nobody there. Yeah,
it's brutal. Look, man, it's a big fall from where they were just a few years ago. That's the truth. And there's just not a lot you can look at right now and just be like super confident that it's just going to get better, right? There's a lot of problems with this team, and I think there's a lot of angst in the fan base about who they got leading the show. So look, Dennis Allen might get another shot. Mickey Loomis and the front office might remain the same. This is an organization that's resistant to change. But I don't think there's going to be a lot of happy campers out there, because there's not like a lot of hope for the future right now. Enjoy Tampa. We'll talk next week. Sounds good, man. He is Luke Johnson, Saints reporter for The Advocate, and always does a great job writing, and certainly with us each and every Thursday. Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's. If you're getting a group of folks over to stay in for New Year's, or watch LSU early, or watch the Saints on Sunday, Rouse's is your spot. You can download that Rouse's app. They have got a fantastic service over there where you can do your shopping digitally, punch it all in, set your pickup time, never even have to set foot in the store. As long as you spend $35, that pickup is for free. So convenient. I like to go into Rouse's because it's clean and they've got a great selection, and I just enjoy the shopping experience in there. But a lot of us crunch for time this time of year. Got a lot going on. Kids aren't in school. You're just trying to make everything work. Rouse's can help you out with that. And if you're down here in South Louisiana, there's always a Rouse's near you. We love the one over at Burbank and Lee, but wherever you can do your Rouse's shopping, we invite you to do that. All right, we'll take a time out. Come back with Michael Cauble next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
It's not storm season right now, which is a good thing, but there's always another one coming. Boudreaux's Electric can help you prepare for that. What a great time it is now to give yourself the peace of mind that you're not going to lose power. Boudreaux's is a certified Generac generator dealer. They're a premier Generac generator dealer. That means they're in the top 3% nationwide. Neil and Melissa have been running that business for 40 years. They give you a free 10-year warranty on every Generac generator purchase. Free for 10 years. And if you just talk about that 10-year warranty for $5.20 a day, you can be protected from outages. Whether you're going to evacuate and come home to a house that's functioning and has the fridge and freezer rolling and isn't 97 degrees, or whether or not you just ride it out. Power goes out, you can still run the TV and the AC unit, and it's like nothing ever happened. Peace of mind that comes with that $5.20 a day just means so very much. Always appreciate our friends over at Boudreaux's Electric. Invite you to check them out online or give them a call. It's Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play.
with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Glide and twirl in a winter wonderland. Skating on the river is back. Ice skating at the Raising Cane's River Center Arena, December 18th through 31st. Visit RaisingCanesRiverCenter.com for scheduled times, dates, and to purchase tickets. Sponsored by Fox 44, NBC Local 33, Guarantee Media, and Acadian Ambulance.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Santa Grove. Jimmy has the day off on Friday. Richard Dixon will join us for Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road. We're talking LSU bowl game and the college football playoffs. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. from Rufino's on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
All right, we've got a nice slate of games coming up on 104.5 ESPN and for bowl season. Tonight we've got the Valero Alamo Bowl. It's going to be Oklahoma and Arizona, a top 15 matchup there at 8:15. We've also got the Cotton Bowl Classic, which will be Friday night at 7. That will be Ohio State, Missouri, a top 10 matchup. And then Saturday, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, which will be Ole Miss and Penn State. That's going to be an 11 a.m. kick with two top 11 teams with that, Ole Miss number 11. And then the Capital One Georgia Bowl will be Saturday night with number 6 Georgia taking on number 5 Florida State at 3 p.m. Again, you can catch all those games at 104.5 ESPN.
Thank you, Mr. Beck. Told you Rouse's brings you our Thursday shows. They've got a great New Year's special coming up. It says that Rouse's is local as black-eyed peas and cabbage on New Year's Day. My dad hates black-eyed peas and cabbage, but he's very superstitious, and he thinks he doesn't eat black-eyed peas, he'll have really bad luck. And if he doesn't have cabbage, he won't have any cash. So he eats it every single New Year's Day, even though he hates it. I enjoy both. And if you enjoy both, check this out. Get up to 5 pounds of green cabbage for free when you purchase a 5-pound bag of Rouse's Markets red, russet, or gold potatoes. That's up to 5 pounds of green cabbage free with the purchase of potatoes for $4.99. They limit one per customer. And the value packs are of Swift sirloin pork chops and Swift sirloin pork roast, both only 97 cents a pound. They're telling you Happy New Year's from Rouse's Markets. We're going to chat with Michael Cauble of WBRZ. He said he's ready to roll if you could dial him up. So Beck's going to give him a call. Michael's headed to Tampa coming up on Sunday, and we'll obviously be there for the game on Monday morning. It's an 11 o'clock kickoff local time here. I think Tampa's in the East. I'm confident Tampa is in the Eastern time zone. So it'll be a noon kickoff in the Eastern time zone, but 11 o'clock for us here. So early morning, I'll be on the air at 9 o'clock, and Cauble will be there. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Mr. Cauble, how are you?
I'm doing well. Sorry I absolutely blew this yesterday.
You did.
Totally my fault, and I will die on the sword.
There you go. I appreciate that. Certainly was your fault, and we got through it. I just had to go through a segment of like leftover notes that I had, but we made it work. So what does this game mean for LSU on New Year's Day?
Oh, God. Nothing.
Okay.
A good send-off to this year and a little introduction of maybe what the Tigers might look next year. But, I mean, there's so many puzzle pieces that are going to get pulled out of the box, I think, going towards next year, that really let's just have some fun, play some football, and, you know, just kind of enjoy what it is. I think all these bowl games are so anticlimactic and meaningless. I mean, it really is about who wants to be there now. It's not really about and what team shows up, you know, as far as the roster is concerned. There's just it's so weird, and I'm so glad this is the last year of it.
Well, look, if I'm the Texas Bowl and I'm going to my sponsors and like whoever, ESPN, who's picking me up to televise the game, I'm going, well, what have you had the last 2 years? Well, 2 years ago, we had a wide receiver playing quarterback for LSU, and they got destroyed because they had 35 players. And last night, Texas A&M had their fourth quarterback, no offensive coordinator, no defensive coordinator. Half the players that opted out are in the transfer portal, and they got throttled for most of the game until they fought back against Oklahoma State. Like, it's not a great product in Houston, an 8 o'clock kickoff when everybody's on their fourth quarterback.
It's terrible, and they're going to have to figure out the scheduling of the transfer portal. Otherwise, like, the postseason is really just going to be 12 teams trying to figure it out. And no one else is gonna care.
Look at the Orange Bowl. Georgia and Florida State had great seasons. They have no players left.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. And LSU isn't in that boat. You know, certainly they've been there enough the last couple of years. But I feel like, and even the opposition that they're playing, you know, has been in that situation. But getting it back to here, I think there's enough intrigue with this team, even without Jaden Daniels, to, you know, get people excited to see kind of what they look like with Nussmeier. And there's enough talent there, you know, if it's a goodbye tour for Malik and Brian and whoever else may, you know, go test the waters. I think it's going to be at least interesting enough. Now, it's a terrible time against a terrible opponent in what really is a pretty awful bowl game venue and site. But, you know, it's one last time to see him suited up. I'm interested to see kind of what the offense looks like with Joe Sloan and Cortez Hankton, you know, getting their shot. And do I expect it to be revolutionary? No, I don't. But it's going to be very different than what it was. And I think we'll find out, like, how good actually is this offensive line? Is it Jaden making everybody look better? There certainly has to be some level of that, but the receivers are still talented. The running game, I think, is what it is. You know, and I think it'll be interesting to see exactly what kind of step forward can they show here.
As far as the offense goes, you surprised Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors are playing?
I am absolutely surprised. And do I expect them to play the first half only? Yes, I do.
Okay.
You know, maybe the first quarter only. I don't know. But yeah, I couldn't believe it when Malik said that he was going to play, and I know why. You know, trying to go for that record, but that dude is a top 15er. You know, like, that's a lot of money, man. So I don't know how much you're going to see him in the slot. You know, I don't know what kind of routes they're going to be running across the middle. But no, I was absolutely stunned, and good for him, you know. And he said it regardless. He said he was going to play whether it was Garrett or whether it was Jaden, and I think we all knew at the time it was going to be Garrett. But good for him, dude. Like, I think you need a little bit more of that in college football, and like we have already talked about, I think you're going to see less and less of it going forward.
I can tell you this. I think Malik Neighbors is going to catch 2 or 3 of those jet sweep pop passes where it's a 1-foot pass and get that catch and start going. We got to get to 21 yards. That's already in the playbook. We're going to get to that a couple times on the first drive, and I think the bubble screen is very much in play from Elite Neighbors as well, because we're trying to get 7 yards 3 times. I think we can make that happen.
That sweet play, you're right. And the question is,
that'll be in there.
You're right. That's hilarious. I didn't think about it, but that's absolutely it. And if he gets it on the first one, is he out? Does he stand up and do the dealer handshake? Where he folds his hands over?
It's like George Costanza and Seinfeld and end on a high note. And go, I'm out.
I'm out of here.
Give me some freshmen. Yeah,
why wouldn't he? Yeah, but that's the thing too, right? Like let's see some Shelton Sampson. Let's see what this dude can do. If he's going to be the next Brian Thomas, let's see him kind of work their way. Let's see Chris Hilton really get involved and stay involved. So there's definitely some intrigue if you dig deep enough, but it's tough. It was tough watching those games last night. I enjoyed watching the USC game. I was kind of scouting them next year. Now, who even knows what they're going to look like, even with a quarterback that goes out and throws 6 touchdowns? It's and really didn't look like they could be stopped. So it was. Some of these are so bad, and then I guess if you look hard enough, you can find some things in them to make you excited about it. The defense. I don't know what to expect.
I'll get to the defense here in a second, but I'm curious what you think about Nussmeier and how he'll look. With, as I've said many times, like that's about as comfy a landing spot as you can find with that offensive line, those wide receivers. That's a pretty good group to have around you for your first start.
I think Nussmeier just can't help but have that like Brett Favre aspect to him. This was one of the things when I was thinking about doing this show. I was going to talk about Nussmeier. Every pregame warm up, like he'll go through the same route tree with those receivers or whatever. But then at the end, he'll always like throw a drop back, like off his back heel, fade away shot to the end zone. Like, and that's just him and like his routine and superstition. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't actually asked him about it, but like that's so much kind of who he actually reverts to in the game. So I want to see, start to finish. Now, I don't know that he'll finish, but if we get a solid 3 quarters out of him, I think he'll have a good idea of what he can do. Like, just play the game the way your coaches want you to play the game, and you can have a lot of success. I do think he's a pretty talented quarterback. I think he just kind of sinks to the level of playground ball a little bit, and that's what gets him in trouble. He takes those shots. I don't need you to take those shots. I think you're good enough, talented enough to run the offense the way it should be, and you'll have a lot of success in it. So that'll be interesting. Obviously, they're going to need some run game because I don't know that Nuss is the most fleet of foot. Not saying he can't get out and roll a pocket or, pick up 7 on a third down kind of thing, but it's not going to be 50 yards down the field looking at people, in the rearview mirror, as you glide into the end zone. So totally different offense is what I'm expecting. And that's why I'm so excited to see kind of how they call it, how they execute it, and how ultimately they perform.
Defensively, I talked in my first segment about Ashton Stamps and Javian Toviano kind of having been the starting corners now for 2 months since the bye week before Alabama. Also, the storyline behind Mekhi Wingo and Mason Smith being out there, with Wingo saying he's the captain. He wants to go out there and finish the year with his guys. Where's the storyline for you on the defensive side of the ball?
Just what happens next. It's really all I care about. And I don't expect them to make these crazy changes. I just don't. I think there'll be some changes to the assistant coaches, and I think we could all probably figure out, where they're going to come. But it's so gross, huh? Like there's nothing that I can look at and be like, oh yeah, let's go there. Like on all 3 levels, it's just so subpar. And sure, some of that's talent and some of that's coaching, and some of that isn't fixed. It's roster rehauls and misses, and I mean it's the perfect storm of poop. It's just like it is kind of what it is, and it's deteriorated to where it's at. But no, I mean you can't have the misses in the portal when you're in the situation that LSU was in and survive it, and they're not. They're winning because of their quarterback. And if he wasn't on that team, this is a 6-6 team. This is a 7-5 team. And that hurts. Like, cause I know LSU's in a bit of a rebuild, and everybody, hit the fast forward button with all the success they had last year. And maybe, the reality is they weren't that good even then. But God, to have this defense fall off the face of the map the way it did, and to have them have to literally put the car in reverse after week 2, spending all summer and fall trying to get Harold Perkins, play a role, and how that ripple effect affected the rest of your defense. It's gross. It's malpractice almost, So like, I love Matt House, but God, that's terrible. Like that's brutal. How can you be what you were last year with somewhat similar, if not maybe worse talent, and then you devolve into what it is this year?
It was a big step back. I think the secondary was a big piece of that, and maybe they've got a couple of younger guys that'll kind of grow up between November 1st and January 1st. We'll see. You think they win on Monday?
I do. I don't think Wisconsin really has any firepower. It's going to be a bad on that side of the ball with their offense and LSU's defense. And I think LSU's offense has enough playmakers, even if Malik only plays the first quarter. Same with Brian. I think they'll find a way to get it done. Again, it's a little bit about motivation. What are the motivations for the teams going into this one? Can LSU find the positives in it to get out there and perform and play? Because it's an 11 a.m. kick in Florida.
Yeah.
Like throw up all over yourself. Yep.
We'll see if that happens on the 9 o'clock pregame show. There's not much. Not much I can guarantee. What do y'all got? What do y'all have coming up on Channel 2?
You're not 7 a.m. in the morning. So
no, that's Charlie.
Look, this will tell you how gross this bowl game is. I'm going in Sunday afternoon. I am doing the game on Monday, and I am flying out Monday night.
Woo!
I have never done that in 25 years at Channel 2. So, that's just not a lot of sizzle to this one. So, we'll bring you what they're doing down there in Florida, but it really is about the game and kind of like what comes after the game, in my estimation. So that's why I'm down there. I'm down there for the post-game interview with Brian Kelly. I want to hear, I know he's not going to answer anything about coaching changes right now, but I want his end of the year thoughts. What did you think? Is this because again, dude, I just feel like Jaden is the best soap in the world.
Yeah.
And you look at some of the position groups, and if you're honest, how many of them actually improved? Wide receivers, offensive line, and quarterback.
Yeah, that's fair.
It
was pretty good offense.
Sobering thoughts on a Thursday.
Well, I got a pretty big weekend ahead, so we may need some of that right now. So we'll see how it goes. Well, safe travels down to Florida. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, hon, and thanks again. Sorry I screwed you over yesterday.
You're all good. We appreciate you coming on.
All right, bye.
He's Michael Cauble, sports director over there at Channel 2, WBRZ. He'll be down in Tampa for LSU and Wisconsin. All right, one more time out. We'll close out hour number 1. Coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. We've been telling you about these champions of Louisiana for a year and a half now. And if you go to lwcc.com/champions, you can look at all the champions that we've talked to you about because of the great work that LWC has done elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Marucci Sports certainly qualifies as a champion of Louisiana. We've talked to you about Young Entrepreneurs Academy. We've talked to you about Four Sisters Rice. We've talked to you about like 20 champions of Louisiana because LWCC is committed to elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. If you know of one, go to lwcc.com/champions, nominate a champion of Louisiana. Marucci Sports is certainly a champion of Louisiana. LWCC, Louisiana Loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford is taking $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford Expedition. $15,000 off new Ford Expedition. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Bayou Ford is taking $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford Expedition. $15,000 off new Ford Expedition. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985.
On Fridays, Off the Bench, a final preview of New Year's 6 weekend. Who will advance in the playoffs, all the biggest bowl winners, and a final pontoon parlay. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
We're almost to full-fledged mock draft season. We're not quite there, but we're close. I saw one today. Yahoo Sports, Nate Tice, who's reputable in the industry, had a mock draft that he put out today. Had Drake May going first, Caleb Williams down to number 3, but here's the real story locally. Jaden Daniels number 4 to New England in this situation. Malik Neighbors number 5 right after him to the New York Giants. And Brian Thomas number 10 overall to the Atlanta Falcons. But 3 players from this LSU offense in the first 10 picks of the NFL draft. That sounds good to me. We'll see how things go with the interviews and pro days and combine and all of that. But LSU is, I think at this point, maybe likely to have 3 offensive guys go in the first round of this draft. That'd be pretty salty for that group. Of course, we'll see Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas one more time coming up on Monday. We do best win, worst loss in the NFL here in this segment each and every week. To me, I'm going to go both NFC flavored here. I think the best win on the board in the NFL would be the Lions going to Dallas. The Lions sitting at 11 wins right now. So is San Francisco. So are the Eagles. Lions could go to Dallas and win. You're putting yourself in a position to potentially get home field advantage in Detroit. You got work to do because you don't figure the 49ers especially, and maybe even the Eagles, are likely to lose. However, both have lost recently. The 49ers got it handed to them a little bit by Baltimore, and the Eagles have kind of been beat up a little bit the last few weeks. So I think the Lions going to Dallas and win would be the best win on the board in the NFL. Worst loss, same type deal, would be the Eagles at home to the Cardinals. I know the Eagles have not been very good of late. Can't lose to the Cardinals at home this point in the season with everything on the line that you've got. If you lose that game, potentially Dallas wins at home against the Lions, you could be on the road for the entirety of playoffs. So the Eagles have being on the road or being the 1 seed very much on the table. Got to beat the Cardinals to make sure that happens. Truly, though, in the NFL, what everyone is actually talking about would be the best win, would be my fantasy football team winning the championship this week. I've never won a championship. I'm, 10, 15 years in at this point. We got a good squad. We got Jalen Hurts. We got Debo. We got Kittle.
What's the opposition looking like?
The opposition had Amari Cooper last week go for 60-something.
Yeah, 50-something.
He was the last team in the playoffs. He was the 6th seed, but you get Amari going for 60, you can get into the playoffs, into the championship game pretty easily. I do have Mike Evans, so I'm a little bit happy that Marshawn Lattimore's not going to suit up. Sorry to offend all of you out there listening, but that's just the reality of the situation. I did have some really big bench scores last week and still got through. Like Breece Hall went for 40 last week. I'm still benching him tonight and not going to play him against Cleveland. But yeah, that's the biggest matchup of the weekend is me. Golf was good. That's my fantasy team name. Inside stupid joke with a guy whose wife gave him very, very serious news. I don't remember what it was, and his response was golf was good. So we make fun of him there. Boots on the ground is my opponent. He's going down. Huge fantasy matchup. Got to have it. Lots of cash on the line. Not really that much cash on the line. Going back for hour number 2, our last hour of the year on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Jeep Grand Cherokee, $10,000 off new Jeep Grand Cherokee, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
His name was King. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
the best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra.
Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, ABC, and ESPN+.
The college football playoff semifinals. First at the Rose Bowl game.
No matter what the external circumstances are, it's not going to change what we came here to do.
Number 1 Michigan faces number 4 Alabama.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Hunt. Excuse me, that's a good start to the hour. Hour number 2, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We've got a cough button here, but sometimes just don't see it coming. Can't quite get to it. Just got to persevere, push through it, because I've only got one more hour to go for this 2023 year. And we'll get a lot done in that hour. Chris Blair is going to be with us from Tampa coming up in 15 minutes talking LSU and Wisconsin. My final pick for LSU and Wisconsin coming up at about 2:30. We'll play Take It or Leave It, and then we'll toss the torch over to Musso, who will carry it with us with him until about 6 o'clock tonight. College football playoff is going to go on before we're on the air again. LSU will play at 11 o'clock in the morning on New Year's Day, and the college football playoff games will be immediately after it. You'll have Texas and Washington in the Sugar Bowl on Monday night. You'll have Alabama and Michigan in the Rose Bowl on Monday afternoon. And I was thinking back, and I, of course, can't put myself immediately in every single headspace I was in December over the last 10 years. Or I couldn't tell you exactly what every team that made the college football playoff was like. But I do feel like this year, more so than many other years, I feel like all 4 teams come into this thing with a real chance. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there will be another blowout. There usually are big blowouts. And maybe I didn't see some of the blowouts coming that did show up. But I would go back over the college football playoff starting in 2014 and almost always be able to point to a team that I would look at and say, I really don't think they're winning 2 games in this thing. Like, did anybody truly think that Jameis Winston's sophomore team that made the first playoff after they went undefeated, won the national championship, came back and they were undefeated again, but they didn't play anybody? The ACC was so bad, and I think everyone was basically in the mind of like, yeah, this team probably can't win it, and Oregon blasted them in the Rose Bowl. In 2015, the second playoff, Michigan State made it. All due respect to Connor Cook, I don't think anybody thought Michigan State was going to win the national championship. Washington got in 2016. I don't think anybody thought that they were going to beat Alabama. In 2017, I think the teams were very good. You had Clemson and Bama in the semis, and you also had Baker Mayfield and then Georgia in that great Rose Bowl. At that point, I think you probably went into it thinking that all 4 teams had a chance. That was a good year in 17. In 18, Notre Dame got beat 30-3 by Clemson. That doesn't feel like a team that really was going to go in there and win a national championship. Although we do have purple and gold glasses down here. Was anybody petrified about that Oklahoma team the way that LSU team was playing? With that Lincoln Riley defense and what we had seen, and Jalen Hurts trying to keep up with Joe Burrow, knowing what we knew then, I don't know that Oklahoma was a huge threat in that year. The COVID year was next. Weird deal. Ohio State got in at 6-0. Notre Dame got in and lost 31-14. I don't really know what we were making of the COVID year, quite frankly, but Bama ran away with it. I don't think anybody was picking Cincinnati to win 2 games 2 years ago. And while TCU did win a game, which surprised me, they turned into a pumpkin pretty quick when the other big boy showed up. So, there's really only one year that I know I can point to and go, yeah, I really felt like all 4 of those teams had a real chance. And I do feel like all 4 teams have a real chance. I think Washington is the non-blue blood in this situation, although they've had more success than Texas over the last 10 years, getting into the playoffs one year. But but they beat Oregon twice and looked kind of impressive doing it. I think I would put Washington maybe 4th in the pecking order, but I think more of them than I did Cincinnati. So we'll see. I want to talk about these games. We'll start in the Rose Bowl, Bama and Michigan. I wanted to look at Michigan's 2 playoff losses, go back and inspect those. And so last year I did not realize that. I knew they lost to TCU. I knew there were a lot of points, especially in the second half. I didn't know it was 51-45. That's a lot of back and forth. And I was thinking, I remember Michigan turned the ball over a good bit, and they did. They turned the ball over 3 times, which will do that. But TCU turned it over 3 times too. Difference is TCU had 2 pick sixes in that game, but it wasn't all a fluke. TCU ran for 263 yards on Michigan for 6.4 yards per carry. Like, that's a heck of an effort by TCU on the offensive side. And then you give them 2 pick sixes and you realize why Michigan lost the game. Year before, Georgia hammered them 34-11. It was 27-3 at half. Georgia outgained them 521-328. That's a 193-yard advantage. That was a game where Michigan, while they did out-physical and out-tough Ohio State in Ann Arbor, by the time they got to the college football playoff and took on a better Georgia team, it was not competitive. Cade McNamara threw 2 interceptions in that game. So as I look at both losses, they did turn the ball over 5 times in those 2 games. As I look at this Michigan team, they're second in the nation in turnover margin. They've only lost 7 turnovers all season. That is 3rd best in college football. So that would be out of character if they turn the ball over a bunch in this game against Alabama. Michigan wants to run Blake Corum. That's their identity. And Auburn did get the running game going on Alabama. Auburn ran it 42 times for 244 yards in the Iron Bowl. Georgia did not run the ball on Alabama. 78 yards on 31 carries. That's 2.5 yards per attempt. So that's the first thing I'm looking at here is, can Michigan run the ball on Alabama? As you flip things over and Bama gets the ball, Michigan's defensive backs are very, very good. They're allowing only 152 passing yards per game. That is 2nd best in college football. They also have 16 interceptions this year. They've only allowed 7 passing touchdowns. I believe that Jalen Milroe, although I will concede he is playing way better than he was in September, I think anyone would suggest that, he's usually good for a bad throw. And I was waiting on it against LSU, and I got it. He threw a duck over the middle of the field, and LSU's safety came over the top and just undercut it very poorly and whiffed it. And turned into be a catch instead of an interception. But that was the bad throw that could have changed the momentum of the game as LSU was leading that game. And instead, LSU didn't make the play. Michigan is going to have to make that play, and they have made that play in the past. Now, Ohio State and Iowa are the only 2 secondaries in college football who've allowed fewer pass plays of 20-plus yards than Michigan. That is where Alabama wants to get things done. They want to go to Burton over the top. They want Milroe to air it out and go long, and that's been really effective for them all year. Michigan doesn't really allow that very often. I believe Michigan is close in personnel to Alabama at the lines of scrimmage, at the skill positions, at quarterback. Like, I can make the argument that it was a mismatch 2 years ago, Georgia, with all that NFL talent on the defensive front 7 especially. Michigan wasn't quite ready. They had Aiden Hutchinson, and they had some guys. But I think the way this Alabama team is constructed and the way that Michigan team is constructed, Michigan can keep up. You turn the ball over 3 or 4 times, you let Milroe hit the deep ball, you could be in for a world of hurt. But I think Michigan can run with Jalen Milroe, and I think Michigan's going to win this game out in the Rose Bowl. I will take Jim Harbaugh's team 30-28. My rooting interest, while strong, is not as strong as it was 10 years ago when Alabama was playing in these games against Texas and Notre Dame and all those. I was trying so hard to keep Alabama from creating this monster dynasty. I've kind of given up that fight. They've won the war. I won a couple of battles here and there with Clemson, 2019 LSU, but the war has been lost, and the Sabans got 100 national titles, and they are what they are. I'm pulling for Michigan, but it is what it is. It should be an incredible setting with 2 fantastic brands and uniforms, and we'll see if Michigan can get over the hump. As far as the Sugar Bowl goes, this is going to be a shootout. I don't really see another way. And I'll tell you this, as I was researching this game, I tweeted this for those that were looking. I got into it. I just, as you would do, I searched Texas and Washington preview to see if somebody could feed me some stats real quickly as opposed to going to dig them all up. And so I started reading and talking about, talking about Steve Sarkisian, talking about Michael Penix, Washington's offense really, really good. I was like, okay, I'm starting to take some notes on the, and then I saw a stat and I was like, Washington's only been held under 30 twice, and it said it was by Cal and Oregon State. And I said, wait a second, I thought Arizona State held them to like 10 or something. I went back, oh, maybe that's wrong. And then I started scrolling up. I was reading a preview of last year's Alamo Bowl between Texas and Washington. A lot of the same characters. Quinn Ewers, Michael Penix, Steve Sarkisian, like Kalen DeBoer, like a lot of the same names you would read, just 12 months late. So had to delete all those notes, went back and started looking at the actual notes from this year. And offensively, these two teams have been great. Washington's offense is 11th nationally in points per game. They're 5th in terms of yards per play. Michael Penix thrown for 300 yards in 9 of 13 games this year, gone over 400 yards 3 times. The issue with Penix is that he's thrown an interception in 8 of his 13 games this year. That is concerning a little bit. Dylan Johnson's a great back for them, 152 yards and 2 touchdowns in the Pac-12 title game against Oregon. It is a very, very good Wisconsin offense that can even if they fall behind, can catch up. Like they can play catch up with Penix. He's that good. Texas is 16th in the country in points per game. Very, very good offense. 14th in the country in yards per play. And you would look and say that Washington's total defense at 93rd is significantly worse than Texas's, which comes in ranked 25th in the country. However, Texas's pass defense is 94th in the country. They are only 5 yards better than LSU per game in pass defense. That has not been the strength of their unit. So to me, Washington can throw on this Texas secondary, and we know that Washington's defense has struggled at a lot of times. It bailed them out against Arizona State, but not so much in a lot of the other games. The offense has had to carry the day for them far more often. So I think this thing is high scoring. I think the environment is awesome. I think Texas is going to spend $1 bajillion in the city of New Orleans, and I also think they're going to beat Washington. I've got Texas 38-28. I think Kalen DeBoer is excellent. I think Michael Penix is excellent. I think Dylan Johnson is excellent. I just think Steve Sarkisian is going to call a great game. I think he's got a really good quarterback, and I think their players are a little bit better. Big 12's not the best battleground to judge teams, but that win against Alabama was pretty impressive. I'm not full of conviction on this one because, like I told you, I think all 4 teams have got a fighting chance here, but I like Texas and Michigan to win this game, these 2 semifinals coming up on Monday. That's my story. And I'll stick to it. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back with Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com. David Duvall and his team, 30 years, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. What would your living situation be like if you had a customized closet that just had more room, more nooks and crannies, more available space for you, as opposed to jamming your clothes in there, trying to find your shoes? Some closet space can be tough to come by. Well, David Duvall and his team can do. They can do a full-scale renovation where they're knocking out walls and doing the whole deal. They're a licensed contractor. They'll be the only call you make. Or maybe you've got some room, but you just don't have the functionality that you need between tie racks or cubbies, drawers, mirrors, different things that they can do. Maybe you don't even know. David Duvall and his team can come in, do a free consultation with you at One Bath and Closets. Say, no, I don't know if I pay for that right now. Financing options are available. You can pay monthly, and David Duvall and his team can walk you through that process. Check out pictures of their great work, the testimonials from their satisfied customers, as well as requesting that free consultation at onebathandcloset.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz vans.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206.
Hannah. Jimmy has the day off on Friday. Richard Dixon will join us for Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road. We're talking LSU bowl game and the college football playoffs. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. from Rufino's on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Let's go down to Tampa, Florida. Nice this time of year. Chris Blair's the voice of the Tigers. He joins us each and every Thursday, does so now from the Sunshine State. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing great, Hunt. Started out a little rain, a little gray sky, and now the sun breaking through, and it's not bad. It's a good time to be in Florida this time of year with temperature about 70 degrees, so it's turned into a nice Thursday.
I've been to Tampa a couple of times. Seems like I saw a lot of chain restaurants and some beachfront tiki huts and whatnot. What are you getting into over there?
No, it's actually got a little more character than that. Although you certainly could do the national restaurant chains. We actually spent some time today in Ybor City, which is a really cool little pocket of downtown Tampa, kind of Cuban inspired. It's where the Cubans came when they first came to the Tampa area, and it's got some great restaurants. It's got some great hand-rolled cigar shops. It's got a lot of character. So I had a little lunch at the Columbia restaurant, which is a staple here. So, if you know where you're going, Tampa's a really cool town. I mean, and I'm not a big Florida guy, but Tampa's not bad.
Me, Shea Dixon, and Ben Love, who used to work at Tiger Rag, stayed in a motel room. I think I slept on the floor, and we were covering the Outback Bowl in 2013. So I don't know that I spent a lot of time seeing the culture of Tampa. We were on a fairly fixed budget and not really experiencing much of anything. So glad you're having some fun.
There's more here than the Days Inn and IHOP, I assure you.
Well, I'm telling you this, though. LSU was playing Iowa, and we went, and as we were walking out of the Days Inn, which was a motel, I mean, there were some Iowa fans that were just sitting in the parking lot in folding chairs in like short sleeves. I think they were just so happy not to be shoveling snow that just sitting in the parking lot of the Days Inn was a getaway.
It's interesting you bring that up because I have seen some purple and gold here. Obviously, we're in the team hotel, and there's there's kind of three, luxury hotels right there on Water Street near the river, and you see LSU fans coming out of all three. I really have not seen Wisconsin fan. In fact, now that I think about it, I haven't seen a single Wisconsin fan, and I've been here since Tuesday afternoon. So it'll be interesting to see, because I'm like you. I thought they would love to escape to Tampa, Florida, and be on the coast and enjoy this type of weather. But I don't know if they're just coming late or just coming for the game, but there aren't a lot of them here.
Any Saints fans? I would guess probably not.
I haven't seen a whole lot.
It's early.
That's the other thing. Yeah. Maybe they'll fly in on Friday, but I haven't seen a lot of them either.
Not a lot of juice in black and gold land. Not a lot of juice in Wisconsin land at this point either for a 7-5 team. What about LSU? You've been around the team a little bit. Your sense of their focus and energy level?
Yeah, I think it's been pretty good. I mean, I've seen them, as they left and came back from the practices, and anybody will tell you that's on the coaching staff that that's the importance of this bowl season. For the guys that are going to be coming back for spring football and hopefully for 2024, it's these practices that you get and the things that they do together. I think today a couple of the guys and Coach Kelly went over to the local hospital, pediatric hospital, and put some smiles on some faces. But all of the activities that the team are doing, it's just a chance to kind of build that team camaraderie. And goodness knows, in this day and age of college football, you're looking for anything to kind of keep the emotions and the love of the brand, love of the school, love of the program as much as you can. And this is a great opportunity to do it, because so far the guys have had fun. They've had a couple of practices. They'll have a couple of more before they get ready for the game on Monday. But, the guys are all smiles. I saw them down in the conference and ballrooms last night. Everybody seems to be, in a positive mood. So that's a good thing. I've always thought when teams, are enjoying themselves, they tend to play a little better.
I was interested to read Mekhi Wingo's quotes about saying I was selected a team captain. They gave me number 18. I know I've been out for a month and a half, but I gotta go out there and get this 10th win. That's not something you read a lot of this day and age in college football. I haven't spent any time around Mekhi. I don't know if you have, but what did you make of those quotes?
Well, I have spent some time with Mekhi, and I've always been impressed with him. But even I guess we all get a little jaded being in this business. But I got to tell you, it made me turn my head. I did a double take when I heard him talking about, hey, I had the opportunity to get back. I had a surgery, a procedure, and kept me off the field for most of the regular season, or the back half of the regular season. But these guys elected me a team captain, and we're going down here to get 10 wins. And it's important for the program. And, he just kept saying program, and he kept saying team. And I thought, my goodness, what a novel approach that is. And I was just super impressed. So kudos to him. That's a great story. Probably doesn't get as much attention as everybody else who's leaving and, leaving their team without roster fills. So good on Mekhi.
LSU's defense pretty well intact on the two deep, and as I look at the matchup, I'm not going to claim to be a Wisconsin football expert, but it seems like a pretty good one. Not exactly the most potent offense coming in from Madison. Do you think that this defense can take a step forward in this game moving into the offseason?
I get the sense on, again, just kind of being around and making the trip over here, that the defense has a chip on their shoulder. And that's not to say they hadn't had one from some of the performances middle of the season. You think they would have one by now. With as much maligned as they have been, deservedly so, to be honest. But I get the sense now that this is like, all right, guys, let's draw a line in the sand. We're trying to build. We got a lot of young guys. We played a lot of young guys, and we can't hang our hat on that. And a lot of people would tell you can't hang your hat on that 6 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. But I think they've kind of said, let's put the past in the past, and let's go into this bowl game, and let's show this fan base and show college football or whoever's watching that, we have a defense that'll play with pride, we'll play with energy, we'll play with fundamental sound technique. And that's kind of what you get when you're around these guys and you've heard the coaches talk. In fact, I had breakfast nearby a couple of the coaches today, and they were talking about, what great energy they had, specifically the defense. So, hopefully if that's kind of the way they're going into this matchup, I think it is a good matchup to your point. When you take a look at the numbers for Wisconsin, fairly pedestrian offense. But anything you can get positive-wise to build in, it's kind of like I said I thought the Fiesta Bowl did in that 18 season for Burrow and company. I thought that Fiesta Bowl win didn't look great initially, and then they just powered away and pulled away. I thought helped springboard them into 19. I think that's what Coach Kelly and his staff kind of hoping for in this one. Again, you get the bowl practices, but if you can go out and have some positivity leaving out of Tampa on Monday afternoon, that'll be a great thing.
In terms of style and personnel, what do you expect to see from LSU's offense on Monday?
I think you got to rely on the guys you have. I mean, it's I give credit to Mekhi Wingo, but let's give credit to Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of people, especially outside the LSU program, that are saying, you guys are making the wrong decision. There's no reason for you guys to be there. There's no reason for you to play. But again, I think we should highlight that those guys, for whatever reason, whatever motivation, want to be down here. And if I'm Garrett Nussmeier, I let those guys know, hey, look, I'm going to feed you the football. You wanted to come play in this, we're going to put you on the marquee, which is going to be good for Garrett Nussmeier. So I think it's obviously, I asked Coach Kelly, back when Jaden had the concussion or was in the concussion protocol the week of that radio show, I asked him, I said, in the LSU offensive playbook, you've got the whole playbook, and then I have to believe there's a special Jaden section, and then there's a special Garrett section. And he said, absolutely. So there is going to be a slight difference in what we will see offensively, I think, because of the personnel. But I think he's got the guys around him that if you don't try to do too much, and I think Garrett said that in his media availability, just go out and do what the coaches tell you to do. And I believe the coaches are going to tell him, feed the ball to the stars that are around you.
Take that Jaden portion of the playbook and just send it right over to Atlanta, to that College Football Hall of Fame. That's where it deserves to be after watching that. I'm curious because I have seen a lot of practice time of Garrett Nussmeier, and I see a lot of youthful exuberance and energy. I'm curious if you think that will show up, or do you think it'll be a far more reserved, kind of in control version of Garrett Nussmeier?
When I've talked to Coach Kelly both on the air and off the air, he always kind of says that's what he likes about Garrett. Obviously he doesn't like, him throwing in tight windows and making bad decisions and giving up the football. But I think he believes that if you try to put a governor on him, you're probably making him a worse player and probably not good for the team. And I just think they're going to allow some of that youthful exuberance and his gusto, if you will, to be a part of what he does. Now, they want him to make good decisions, obviously. Let's face it, he's got a pretty good offensive line that'll be out in front of him for the most part. So I think against this Wisconsin defense, they're going to be able to, give him a clean pocket, and he has the ability to move the pocket. He's just not the type like Daniels who, is going to make spectacular plays with his feet. But I think they want him to get out there. And again, if you're going to highlight Malik and Brian, Kyron Lacey and the rest, let him do what he does. And that is, load it up and fire.
I've put all the golf shops, pro shops, and courses on alert that Gordy Rush is headed to Tampa today. So I think we'll be able to find him pretty quickly. Y'all enjoy the next couple of days, and we'll hand it off to you on Monday morning.
Yeah, I'm sure they've got that U-Haul truck ready to pick up his clubs and cart and everything else. So, yeah, I should see him in just a bit. All right, Hunt. Take care.
You bet, Chris. That is Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers. LSU and Wisconsin, 11 o'clock coming up on New Year's Day. I'll be on the air on the LSU Sports Radio Network at 9, and then we'll toss things to the broadcast team over there in Tampa. Raymond James? Did they change the name of that stadium? Still Raymond James?
I'm not sure. I know it was. I'm not sure if they changed it though.
Either way,
they all changed.
Saints will play there Sunday. LSU will play there on Monday. Maybe a couple of wins for the teams from Louisiana. Chris will be on the call with Doug Morrow and Gordy Rush. All right, when we come back, time to make some picks. We got games to pick. LSU and Wisconsin certainly. We'll give me my thoughts on Saints and Bucks as well.
The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride One day they found him.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
On your own lap and getting yourself what you want. Finally. And if you need a little more pep in your step, get yourself a refreshing peppermint frosty cream cold brew. Or you can give it to your mom. Whatever.
Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's. Vanilla Frosty is temporarily unavailable.
On Fridays, Off the Bench, a final preview of New Year's Six weekend. Who will advance in the playoffs, all the biggest bowl winners, and a final pontoon parlay. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
I was listening to that promo that T-Bob just cut. He's like, final New Year's Six weekend, parlay, big win, all that. And like, didn't ever mention LSU and Wisconsin. Like, I certainly don't listen to every minute of every show on our station. I'm listening when I'm in the car and sometimes pop it on when I'm at my desk, kind of see what everybody's talking about. Because we try to play the hits here. We try to talk about what we think you care about. And sometimes I struggle with that, just kind of depending on the time of year and the way a season may be going. I struggle. I don't know if you guys care about mock drafts and for baseball in November when we've gotten to some of those. I don't know how badly you want to hear about LSU's basketball team right now or their women's basketball team, depending on where your allegiances lay. And I'm curious, like, I feel like I have talked about LSU and Wisconsin more than anyone on this station. And I've done it like a total of maybe an hour and 20 minutes.
I think you
in a month.
I think you're definitely in the top two for sure.
I mean, I think for sure ahead of Jacob and T-Bob.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
and miles ahead of Jimmy and Charlie.
Yeah. I produced the OTB this morning, and I don't think we talked about the bowl game really at all.
That is, and they're definitely not wrong for that. Like that is, I mean, I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong. I'm just saying the reality. Like I've broken down Wisconsin's offense and defense. I've given you statistics and names and like gotten into the weeds a little bit with it. I wasn't doing it the first week of December. We were doing Heisman stuff, and then we had signing day and transfer portal stuff and all that. But like this week, I felt like, yeah, we should probably talk about LSU and Wisconsin, but like it just doesn't seem to be front of mind for anybody. And that's, I think, just the reality of where we are. And maybe I'm actually in the majority and didn't realize it. That I think that the result of this game is just not that big a deal. And people were shouting from the mountaintops like, you're an idiot for having that opinion. Like LSU is putting on the helmets and like they're coming out on TV. Like I'm going to get a beer out of the fridge and we're getting fired up for this game. Maybe that's the minority at this point, which to me is really sad because I loved bowl games when I was a kid. And I just, after what I've watched from LSU and Kansas State and then LSU and Purdue, like it's hard for me to conjure up that energy.
Yeah, I do think though with LSU having supposedly everyone available except for Jaden Daniels, I think that should at least maybe give some people a little bit more interest in the game.
Yes, I think Malik's record is cool. I think seeing Nussmeier is very he's very likely the guy next year. I think he's going to beat out AJ Swan for that job. And then I pled my case at the top of the show talking about the defense and why I think it's a pretty good matchup for them and why I think the DBs specifically can have a really good day. There's no question that LSU is going to have to try to stop the running game of Wisconsin, and Wisconsin's going to come into this game without their leading rusher, who determined at the beginning of the month that he was not going to play in the bowl game. He's gone over 850 yards this year, and they're going to play without him, same way that Purdue played without their quarterback and top wide receiver and tight end last week. So I can find some interesting things to watch. It's just that when LSU plays Auburn or Florida State at the beginning of this year, or certainly Bama, like my blood pressure's up, like I'm nervous, I'm sweating, like I'm like focused, that whole deal. Like that's what an LSU football game watching experience is. And this it doesn't feel like the spring game. I don't want to devalue it to that much, but like you're not gonna see me jumping up and down or yelling in this game. Like that's not where my headspace is, and that was the case back when LSU was playing Illinois in the Sugar Bowl, or like Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl when I was a freshman in college, or even A&M in the Cotton Bowl after that. Like those just felt like big important games, and this one doesn't. Now, I will say that it feels like a great matchup for LSU, like I've said. If Jaden Daniels were playing in this game, I would pick LSU to win by more than 20 points. Like I've said in the past, like Wisconsin to me looks a lot like Auburn in terms of their personnel and the style of play that they're having to play on offense. They don't have a lot of explosive players. They've got an average quarterback and some pretty good talent at running back, and they're just trying to run the football at you and trying to slow the game down, and they would like to win the game 24-20. Like that's how they would want to play. And of course, we know by now the LSU offense that we saw all year does not allow for that type of game against anybody. I fully believe that LSU against Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State, or any team you want to put out there, even put Iowa out there, I believe LSU with Jaden Daniels is going to go up and down the field on whoever they play. Now, they might do what they did against Florida State and miss on 3 red zone chances and have a receiver slip and have a ball picked off. But that type of game was demanded when you played LSU because they were so good on offense. I had Alabama beat writers that I was talking to the 2 weeks leading up to that game. We're doing reciprocal interviews on people's shows, and they're like, man, are you sure? Like, Alabama's offense has had some real struggles. I'm going, you don't have to worry about that. They will not have any struggles on Saturday. Now, they're not going to stop LSU. And you could say, well, Alabama's the best defense LSU's seen. They didn't score that many points against Florida State. And I'm going, you don't get a choice here. This is what you will see up and down the field. And it was until Jaden got hurt. Now, that dynamic changes a little bit in this game because I don't know exactly what to expect from Nussmeier. Don't have Denbrock there. And I think LSU's defense can slow Wisconsin down a little bit. So to me, this game does not look like the track meet that LSU has gotten into all year. Because I have no respect for Wisconsin's offense and think LSU will do very similarly to Wisconsin, what they did to Auburn when they held Auburn to 18 points. I think that's somewhere around what I think Wisconsin scores. And I think that Garrett Nussmeier doesn't have this thing humming like Jaden Daniels did. And I think I want to put this into the universe before they take a snap on Monday. If it doesn't look perfect, if they don't go up and down and score 45, that's not a huge indictment on Garrett Nussmeier. What Jaden Daniels did this year was historic. He's going to get a statue for that. So if your expectation, and you expect your eyes to see what you've been seeing, because, well, there's Malik Neighbors, and there's Brian Thomas, and there's Logan Diggs, and there's Mason Taylor, there's Will Campbell, there's Emory Jones, and Charles Turner. Go. Give Garrett a second here. I'm not telling you he can't go out there and score 45 on this team. I'm just telling you, he may miss a throw or two here. They may not convert a third down because he can't move quite as well as Jaden Daniels did. There may be a couple more sacks than there were. And if it gets to a point where I'm now looking at this going, well, this really doesn't look good, well, then I'll analyze it that way. But let's adjust our eyes and go, okay, it may not look as pretty as it has, but hopefully it looks good. And I think for a lot of the game, it will. I think LSU is going to win this game. I think it's close to that number, which was about 10. My final score pick for LSU and Wisconsin is 31-21 LSU. Again, I don't think Wisconsin goes up and down the field, and I do think LSU does a good job. No turnovers from Garrett. Don't want to see any foolish throws. Yes, aggressive throws, absolutely. Give Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors and Kyron Lacey and those guys a chance to go up there and make plays. No foolish ones where things aren't open or you're rushing, rolling out of the pocket, throwing across your body. None of the gunslinger stuff we need to see. We want to see solid decision-making. You got plenty of playmakers out there that can make things happen for you. And I think LSU pulls away from Wisconsin and wins it 31-21. The other game in Tampa this weekend is, of course, the Saints and the Buccaneers. And we know that the Saints must win this game to keep their playoff hopes alive. You've heard my thoughts on the Saints over the last now 1 week since they played a week ago today. Every time the Saints have faced a team with a relative pulse, they have been punched in the mouth early. Now, they've responded to that, and they've made things a game. They made it a game with Jacksonville. They made it a game with Detroit. They made it a game with the Rams. And if you want to give me the Indianapolis game where they went up there and won, I'm not going to fight you too hard on that. But more often than not, when they've faced the better teams on their schedule, which is the worst schedule in the league, they have been awful to start games, and then they've kind of clawed their way back and ended up losing by a score or two. You could say Tampa's one of the better teams, and Tampa certainly came into the Superdome and smacked the Saints, but I think the Saints are a little bit different team than that today. But Tampa may be good after the last week that we've seen from them. I just don't have a lot of faith in the Saints on either side of the ball right now. I used to feel like the Saints defense could smother opponents. And we certainly know that the storyline between these two teams a lot has been Mike Evans against Marshawn Lattimore. And without Lattimore on the field, I don't feel like the Saints are as well equipped to deal with Tampa. And the Bucs have gotten the running game going, and the interior of the Saints' defensive front has been gashed on the ground far too often this year, and that's a recurring theme from last year, even though they turned over the cast of characters. And the Bucs are still not great, and the Saints still do have some weapons on offense. They've got to try to get Shaheed the ball down the field. You did that in the game against L.A. and never quite came back to it. Kamara just kind of uneven performance is not awesome to this point. I think the Saints have a chance to go to Tampa and win this game. I'm not going to pick them to go to Tampa and win this game. In fact, I think the Bucs probably get a late score that delivers the knockout punch on 1, the game on Sunday, on 2, the season, and 3, on the decision makers in the organization that are, I think, going to have to take a real look at this thing after this thing goes final on Sunday. And then you look at that dome a week from Sunday and realize that you've got a Week 18 game against the most hated team on your schedule with absolutely zero consequence and very few people in the seats. That's the fear that may be realized here in the next 10 days. I like Tampa to beat the Saints on Sunday 38-20. I just don't think that it's going to be a one-score game late. I think Tampa delivers the knockout punch on this whole thing. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we've got more interesting things to talk about than are the Saints going to draft a quarterback next week, or what is Dennis Allen doing? Like, I hope we have some playoff implications to talk about, but I just don't believe that's going to be the case. I think Tampa gets it done. So pick for LSU, pick against the Saints. That's my story here on this Thursday. Let's take one more timeout. We'll finish things up here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
His name was King. He had a horse along the country.
Hannah Jimmy has the day off on Friday. Richard Dixon will join us for Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road. We're talking LSU bowl game and the college football playoffs. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. from Rufino's on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Shout out to the folks at Rouse's. They bring you our Thursday shows each and every week, telling you about their New Year's special they've got going on right now at Rouse's. It's the New Year's special because you got to have your black-eyed peas and your cabbage. You got to have good luck. You got to get some cash in your wallet in 2024. So let Rouse's help you out with that. They have you get up to 5 pounds of green cabbage free when you purchase a 5-pound bag of Rouse's red, russet, or gold potatoes. That is up to 5 pounds of green cabbage free with the purchase of potatoes for $4.99. Cannot beat that. Get on by Rouse's for your New Year's plans, for your bowl game watching plans, college football playoff watching plans, Saints watching plans, or just eating and drinking, because that's what we're doing this time of year anyway. Plans. Rouse's brings you our show each and every Thursday. All right, one more order of business this year for me. Take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. Michigan defensive coordinator Jesse Minter said Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe runs the ball like Reggie Bush. You agree with him? Take it or leave it.
I will leave it. I saw Reggie Bush run the ball. He's one of the best ball carriers I've ever seen in football. Jalen Milroe is just big and fast and good. He runs the ball like a big, fast guy. He runs the ball like, he's really good at running the ball. He doesn't run it like Reggie Bush. When he leaves 14 guys in his wake from Fresno State, or leaps over the pylon like he did against the Bears or Lions or whoever that was, then I'll concede that. He throws it better than Reggie Bush. He does not run it like Reggie Bush.
Alabama is not allowing players to watch film on their personal iPads leading up to the Michigan game. They are only watching film in groups due to the Michigan sign-stealing investigation. Take it or leave it.
So do we think that Michigan's going to hack the iPads? Do we
you never know.
Do we think a player that's going to the transfer portal that may be going to Michigan is going to email the film, and that's how? Because we've been watching on iPads for all the other teams. Michigan was buying tickets to stadiums, best I know, but I guess you're thinking if they're willing to go to that length, they got a hacker in there somewhere too. So we're not gonna let the players do that. I don't even know. I can't even connect the dots to what we're concerned about here.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a bit weird in my opinion, but to each their own. Alabama's gonna not watch their film, so if they lose, that's why. It's because they didn't watch enough film. All right, New Year's Eve. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. Look,
I'll take it.
You have to. I've had great New Year's Eves and terrible New Year's Eves. The best one we ever did, which was remarkably cheap because of the amount of people that we had, we got a top-level condo in a Gulf Shores place. There were like 20 of us, and it slept like 19 or 20 people, and we all chipped in a little bit, and we all just went up there. We never even left. We played cards. We ordered pizza. Like, it got us away from, it was right after college. It got us away from the going to New Orleans, try to find some restaurant. Somebody's got a party where it's all inclusive. You pay this entry fee. You try to go to dinner. You're at a plated thing where you're elbow to elbow with somebody. That's not working. Like, house parties are generally the way to do things at this age. Now, with what we've got going on, I've got Christmas 25th, Myers' birthday 27th, her birthday the 30th. This year we've got a wedding that she's in tomorrow. I'm on the air at 9 o'clock in the morning on New Year's Day anyway. I'm pretty much out of the find something you got to do on New Year's anyway. But in your younger years when you're trying to find something, some are hits, some are misses. I spent one on Bourbon Street that was a total miss, or cover charges everywhere and people everywhere, and it was atrocious. But if you find something you can do, it's good. It's time to be together. Nobody's working the next day except me, but it's good.
Florida State players have said if they beat Georgia and are the only undefeated Power 5 team, they should be considered national championships, saying it's only right. Take it or leave it.
Maybe the biggest leave it and take it or leave it history, which spans like 3 years. There are very, very set rules and regulations for who wins the national championship. You did not qualify. End of discussion. USC didn't qualify in 2003. This team did not qualify. There are rules. We set them. Everybody knew them. And you didn't make it. So great year. Awesome job. Sorry about Jordan. Hope he's recovering nicely and doesn't have too bad a scar from the surgery. However, you don't win the national championship. Unless you want to be considered a complete joke like Central Florida, then no.
Bowl games in baseball stadiums. Take it or leave it.
Gotta leave it. Just bad. We've got, they're trying to play in Wrigley Field sometimes, but there's not enough room behind the end zone, so every team has to go the same way. Then they're playing in Fenway Park, and both teams have to stand on the same sideline. Plus, the field looks all wonky. Like, you're materially altering the game. Like, there's a substitution rhythm to football, and when you've got both teams on the same sideline and one guy could be 55 yards away from where he's trying to sub into, it just doesn't work. So, no, we're trying to be creative and novel with all this kind of stuff. We've already talked about the lackluster way that bowl games are approached. Trying to jam one into Yankee Stadium or Fenway Park does not work for me, no.
All right, last one here, and of course, in true Hunt Palmer Show fashion, it's about the LSU men's basketball team.
Oh, yeah, baby. Finish on a high note.
They're going to beat the Northwestern State Demons tomorrow in their final pre-conference game. Take it or leave it.
I will take it. They will beat Northwestern State. Coach McConaughey, longtime head coach at Northwestern State, no longer there. It's a little bit different Demon team than was out there for 20-plus years when Coach McConaughey was roaming the sidelines. But, yeah, I think they'll get a win. Then they play Texas A&M in the conference opener in College Station, and then you got Vanderbilt at home. You'd really like to win that one because Vanderbilt is not good.
Yep.
And if you drop that one at home, it could be a minute for this team. So I think they'll win against Northwestern State tomorrow, and then we'll see as conference play awaits. That is it for the year for me. I have wife's in a wedding this weekend. Her cousin's getting married, so we're headed down to New Orleans after the show. Jeff Palermo going to be in my chair tomorrow. He'll have Preston Guy on to talk LSU football. He'll certainly talk Saints and LSU Wisconsin as well, college football playoff. It'll be a busy, busy show. It's been an awesome, awesome year here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Thanks so much to Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines for all of their hard work. Thanks to y'all for listening all year long. Pretty good year. Got a natty in women's basketball, got a natty in baseball, went up to Omaha, did the thing up there. It's been a lot of fun, but we'll leave it right here. I'm looking forward to New Year's Day. I'll be on the air at 9 o'clock. For the LSU Sports Radio Network, and back in action on the Hunt Palmer Show on Tuesday the 2nd. Have a wonderful, safe New Year's. We'll be back on Tuesday. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer